Hello, everyone. I hope you had a great week. And in this episode, we are bringing a very interesting subject for you. The subject is the chakras and the relationship between the chakras, the human physiology, and healing. Now, this has been a subject of debate in many forums about the chakras, but this is proven beyond doubt that there is something which is extremely useful, and chakras are something that we all should know about. And this is a very vital part of our knowledge of our own body. It is not that the Gray's anatomy says everything about who we are. There is something beyond that. And we will discuss this today. And as usual, we have Dr. Valentina Onisor and Professor Amit Goswami with us. A very warm welcome to the show. Today's subject is chakras, human physiology, and healing. Before we get into the main meat of the subject, so to speak, may I request Dr. Goswami to just give a brief on how chakras are viewed from the quantum point of view.
As Krishna said, chakras are old discoveries of the yoga psychology that was developed millennia ago in India. And the chakras were said to be centers where we feel feelings. Now, of course, many things were said about the chakras. The ancient writings give us 7 centers of such feeling. And indeed, they knew how to move energy, prana, life energy, vital energy as we call it now, between the chakras. So indeed, the idea was already there that what we feel is vital energy. And in this way, even the idea of creativity between the chakras was explored. This is the famous Kundalini awakening phenomena. The idea is so beautifully put. I mean, the metaphor is just beautiful. You know, a coiled spring, right? It has potential energy. And when you release the spring, all that energy comes out. It's a great way of holding energy. Coil a spring. As the spring uncoils, all that energy will be released as kinetic. So this energy and potentiality, the idea of potential energy, even that they knew. And they knew that if Kundalini rises, then various chakras which are relatively unexplored in us become explorable again, in the sense that we can experience them. Today, we are in a situation where people are very unfamiliar with the centers of feeling, although, to their credit, some people, most notably Donald Trump in recent history, talked about feelings in the gut. This gut feeling, creative people always talk about gut feeling, and so do people like the Donald, talking about their feelings in the body. But of course, the mainstream scientists poo-poo such ideas. It's no fabrication, however, because quantum science now has a complete science for these chakras. So when I was looking at it, I did not know anything about vital energy either. I remember going to a workshop of Richard Moss, a famous doctor who became a mystic teacher. His workshops were very powerful, and it was very beneficial to me because he sort of the first one who kind of gave me a direct experience where I knew that I'm experiencing something where I'm feeling, and that feeling is something to be reckoned with. It's a definite positive experience. What he did was he said his hands are energized, and when he puts his hands like this on my chest area or on the stomach area, I was lying down, supine position, and he took his hands like chakra by chakra, like this, and did some stuff, meditated on it, I guess. I was just lying there in a receptive manner. That's what he told me. But I had kind of something, but it was not like ooh ah that other people were expressing. I didn't have that kind of ecstatic experience. So I was kind of disappointed. So when the vocal part of the workshop started, I immediately raised my hand. Yes, Amit. Richard, you gave all these other people experiences. I didn't have any. How come? So he said, Amit, I can only give. You have to be the one who receives it. You have to, I can only open the door. You have to enter it. So I said, well, I did what you said. What else could I do? He said, well, that's the problem. You were always in your eye, in your mind. You have to leave the mind behind and enter. Ego behind. I said, but I want to be there when I get an experience. And everybody, of course, laughed because the mental ego is what prevents us from experience vital energy in the body. Your identity has to change. Is there something like self in the body at some of the chakras? So from that on, I was an inspired scientist who wants to find out the science of the chakras. That was 1981. Long journey. Did not happen until another 10 years. But while I was writing a book called Physics of the Soul, it has already come together. Then I wrote another book on healing. Then it came together, and what the place for in the science of healing also becomes clear. So what chakras are places where we collapse physical and vital bodies together. You remember physical, vital body, this combination. Every organ can be thought of as a hardware, and then it has vital software. It does have a physical built-in software too, but that's not important. The vital software guides the physical part. And it's the vital part that we can experience. We don't experience the physical part, except maybe we can sense with the help of neurons, but that's not the point here. There is there, but that's not what we're talking about. What we feel, what I felt, and others were feeling in that ecstatic way, and later on I could also feel that way. Now I can. That was just the movement of the vital software. And the movement was felt in the navel chakra, in the heart chakra. That's mainly what his emphasis was. But they can be felt also in the brow chakra. So we have these three cells. All this took a long years to develop. Even in the test of 2004 and 2001, I didn't have the whole description. And gradually this hardware software metaphor arose, and we made a great stride in describing what the situation is. And then the nature of the heart chakra became clear, its connection with the immune system. When the immune system, me not me, suspended, then only we have the heart feeling of love. Otherwise, the heart chakra gives us a defensive feeling that you don't particularly care for. But of course, many people are embracing that instead of love, which has don't know any better. These are the lonely Iron Men That's Robert Bly's term to describe many men of the American society and European society. Usually, men of the East and men of the South, they don't feel that way. It's the North America and Europe, Western Europe, that is the main holder of the mental ego. And of course, those of us who are indoctrinated in these countries, we picked that up too, and I was one of those people. So it took me a while to first experience them, but again, being a beginner has advantage. I didn't know nothing, and therefore my mind was completely open. So I invoked Rupert Sheldrake's work to make a good model for the vital software. Now, this vital software is what guides the physiological function. So this is why human physiology, which materialists think is the product of the hardware itself, it doesn't work that way. We now know that the hardware, the genes, does not give us the function by itself. Genes have to be properly instituted, do their job, triggered. It's epigenetic. The instructions are not in the genes. Epigenetic. Now, many people just stop there. Okay, epigenetic means that there is some other genes, something that people have been calling super genes, homeobox genes, regulator genes, whatever have you. That these names have also evolved. And that they're satisfied. But of course, there is also non-locality in this movement, non-locality in this activation of the genes. Because different organs and different parts of the body, they are coherently acting during our development from a baby to an adult body. How do you explain that? Non-locality. Even the traditional biologists talk about this. How does an organ know where it is in the body? That's how it is expressed. If you need non-locality, there has to be a non-physical, non-material part of it. And this is where Sheldrake's idea of morphogenetic field gave me the right context, and then I could develop a whole science of chakras, whole science of feeling. Now, mind you, the materialists have some of it as brain phenomena. That is correct. It's not wrong, because brain does take over during our evolution through the long history, through plants, through animals, through us. Indeed, brain, for survival reasons, especially with the mammalian brain, indeed did take over bulk of the function. These express themselves in the so-called 4F response to emotions. But emotion is not a brain phenomenon per se. It's a phenomenon of the body, connected with the body physiology. This is the important point that for you to know. Centers of feeling, they come from our direct experience of the movement of these morphogenetic fields that are really the guiding principles behind the physiology, organ functions. Okay? And what does that information mean? If it's not the brain, if it's not unconscious in us, if we can consciously feel the energies in the body, that's a tremendously great news, because we have some access to our emotional world. Now, you know, emotional stress are responsible for almost all of the chronic disease that we are suffering today. Cancer, heart disease, autoimmune disease, diabetes, all of this is aggravation of the organs in the body. Diabetes is associated with pancreatic function. All the immune system malfunction is connected with immune system disorder at the heart chakra. Throat malfunctions, disease of the throat chakra, including asthma, serious disease. And then, of course, brow chakra's function is mental thinking, but of course, Alzheimer, all that stuff is brow chakra disease. So, in this way, we now have a major handle on how to heal disease. Now, of course, who best but Dr. Valentina Arnisa to talk about healing at chakras?
Absolutely. Over to Dr. Anisa.
Thank you. Of course, it's a huge, huge subject that we just opened now, and hopefully our viewers are very much familiar with this. Just to take it further, do you know, most of you, about this Rupert Sheldrake, right? Who discovered the original idea of morphogenetic fields, aka liturgical fields, called by Amit later on, but did not see the connection to feelings. Yeah. So the vital body liturgical fields, they provide what is called the blueprint for these epigenetic programs of the software that control the organ functions. And again, many scientists, they have noted that the mentioned main chakras, the 7 main chakras, they are found to be close to important organs of the physical body. And now you see why, So as Amit said, chakras are the places where we experience the feelings which are associated with the collapse of the physical vital hardware, software of the most important organs of our body. Of course, many people still don't know about the existence of these chakras, and also about the very easy ways how to activate them, how to harmonize them, how to awaken or open, in other terms. Yeah? But this vital software correlated with the physical organs is universal and it's common to all humans. But again, it's that ignorance that prevents us from many things, and especially from being healthy. But for a good state of health, it is essential to experience what we call feelings in the body and to know your chakras, however foreign this concept of vital energies and chakras may seem. Okay. Now, in general, when we say about wellness or the state of health, it requires a dynamic homeostasis of this physical hardware, and the vital software, the function. So our feelings, the chakras, can tell us if the organs, the chakras, are functioning properly or not. Yeah. So why dynamic? So because of these environmental factors, which are both physical and emotional, as Amit mentioned again, so the organ functions are always changing within a certain range. Yeah. And in any given situation, the consciousness needs to actualize the appropriate software program. It must be free to choose accordingly. And if the appropriate choice is blocked, then we feel disharmony and eventually even disease. Okay. So I saw in my practice as a doctor and also as a teacher that Eastern medicine is concentrating more on the lack of balance and harmony of the vital body movements that we experience as feelings. And for example, traditional Chinese medicine, this is an imbalance of the yin and yang aspects of vital energy, qi, the wave and particle aspects of qi, if you will. Yeah, so even if this is vague and requires some deeper knowledge, but let's see what causes disease at the vital level. Because at the physical level, we have the physical body hardware, which is subject to usual physics and chemistry. But at the vital level, we have the vital software, functional programs, which are made from repeated use of the blueprints of these liturgical fields. Okay, now, hopefully these terms are not too difficult to follow, but an individual's vital body is also unique for a different reason, because of the individual nature of development. So for example, if you go to an integrative medicine practitioner, and you will see that we don't speak about a name, a disease, but actually everything is truly individual. Certain vital blueprints and programs, they are used more than others. And a bunch of propensities then becomes like a pattern of functional personalities, So it's an individual vital body that we refer. And it may have certain imbalances which are built into it, which can be an internal cause, or may acquire imbalances due to interactions with the physical, with the vital, or the mental even, And again, it may acquire dynamic imbalance between creativity and conditioning. Okay. And of course, when we say that this environment is dynamic, we refer to food, to nature, to animals, to our interaction with other people, and so on. Yeah. So all this interaction with the physical and mental environment, they are both indirect and direct. Okay, and the physical environment is affecting the physical body organs, but also that is related with the vital body software, which must adjust. Yeah, and then the effect is propagating. And of course, consciousness makes that ultimate connection. And yeah, so it's, again, it's a long story, but what we emphasize in the practice of chakra medicine, or even quantum yoga, if you want, we speak a lot, first of all, about the chakra dynamic at the navel and the heart, what Amit mentioned already. So we start with this, first of all, because our feelings are associated with the chakras again. And if you think of the root chakra, we refer to the fear of or security, and the brain take over, and is giving us responses of flight or fight, corresponding to how we feel. And when we think of the navel, in response to the feelings of hunger, the brain takes over, translates into that, what Amit mentioned, the F response, feeding. Unbalanced responses generate various feelings connected with other negative emotions, anger, greed, pride, and narcissism here at the navel area. So it's a lot, also we can describe it for the person from the childhood, how it should be the natural healthy development. But again, it's a whole, really a quantum science of the chakras and of chakra medicine. And okay, I'll also tell you one more thing about them from the medical perspective, if I have time. How about the diseases at the chakras, right? So there are authors, which speak, and also practitioners, classifying many organ diseases as non-normal energy movement at one chakra or another. For example, root chakra, constipation, piles, diarrhea, etc. Yeah. Of course, some of them are more complex. Yeah. The second chakra, the sex chakra, impotence, or prostate disease for male, and these other diseases of the reproductive system. Yeah. Then the navel chakra, for example, the very common, unfortunately, irritable bowel syndrome, diabetes, peptic and gastric ulcer, liver disease, hiatus hernia, and so on. At the level of the heart disease, immune system disease, allergies, cancer, and cancer, of course, is very special to speak about and understand its mechanism and how to refer to that. Of course, we have to take consideration the immune system malfunctioning when, for example, the heart energy love is absent. So we speak about, of course, the immune system, what we call it to be suspended, and the rest that is required. Just as our neocortex needs the rest, also the same, the immune system needs that. The throat chakra, for example, thyroid over or underactivity, or asthma, or sore throat, or even ear disease related with the thyroid. And the third eye, migraine or tension headaches, eye disease, mind-brain diseases like depression, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's disease. Of course, these are already more complex. And crown chakra, there are apotemnophilia, if it's called, and somatoparaphrenia, and transsexuality, and many other things. Even depression, again, can be related with this chakra. But of course, this is already very, very complex. And then when we can speak about what's happening when the energy is blocked, that the organ is not functioning according to its usual determined potentiality mode. Okay. So you just have to become aware of what's happening in your body. You're not even aware that you don't have, for example, a very good digestion, that your bowel does not clear, for example. You are not even aware so much of the level of that we have due to various factors, for not having the right sleep or the right interactions. You're not attentive to the vital energies around you. For example, sitting in front of computers, instead of going and walking in the nature to charge. Or you don't even know that for example, the creativity can be very much blocked when the sexual energy is blocked. So there are a lot of things. And first, what can be immediately applicable is to kind of try to perceive what's happening when you are watching all this, for example, the news, and you have this feeling of fear or panic, and to kind of be aware how the energy is leaving your body, through the root chakra, for example, when you go too much into this kind of emotions, okay, for example. And again, so when the energy is blocked, there is serious malfunction of the organ. So all these things that you don't see in time, it can truly lead to disease. So it is the contention of this kind of the energy block, for example, in the root chakra, which is responsible for root chakra chronic diseases. Like I said, irritable bowel syndrome related with both the root chakra and the navel chakra. And the navel chakra blocks for diabetes of type 2, heart chakra block for cancer, and brow chakra block for Alzheimer, and so on. Yeah. So just recall that different types of emotion are felt at different chakras. Yeah, irritability and anger at the navel chakra. Yeah, or the quick processing of meaning, as hyperactive people do. For example, try to see what is there, what's happening in the vital area. Okay. And okay, one more, the last thing, for example, the suppressing emotions all over the body can give rise to serious diseases such as fibromyalgia, for example. And again, pay attention to what is called chronic fatigue syndrome, for which the main physical body symptom is just total fatigue. So mainly when you suppress the feelings in all the body chakras, all the corresponding vital body movements will be suppressed. And again, there are great ways, even natural ways to unblock them. Isano?
Great. Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Goswami, again, for a little bit of wrap up, as well as some more light on these things, the blocks that Valentina talked about. Maybe you can, explain it from a quantum point of view.
So Valentina gave an excellent idea of the scope of chakra science that we have developed. Truly a big breakthrough. Now, the intriguing phenomenon, of course, remains, especially if you're familiar with the tantric literature developed in India, is the idea of Kundalini awakening. And this is a fantastic phenomenon. And there was a lot of excitement in the West at one time when transpersonal psychology was at its heyday. Now the excitement is relatively slowed down a lot. But in the 1990s, I remember so many people were reporting Kundalini rising phenomenon. In fact, in 1981, even before I went to the workshop Richard Moss, I, of course, knew about Kundalini, did not know what it is about, but I was at SLN, and I won't go into the details, but I had a Kundalini awakening experience myself. How does it feel like? Well, it feels like energy moving, like a coiled spring energy is released, and the energy is in the bottom of your bottom chakra, the root chakra, or the sex chakra, or the navel chakra, and they rise through the heart to the all the way supposed to be the crown chakra. That didn't happen to me. I wrote up to about the third chakra, and I theorized that maybe it went to the at least to the brow chakra, because that's what glamorized in the literature. Then the brow chakra and especially the Sahasrara, the crown chakra opens. That didn't happen for me. In retrospect, I humbly acknowledge that only up to third chakra, and probably because I did some work in my previous life. I don't take any credit for it because, as I said, I was totally ignorant about what it's about. So all that discovery, after it has been made, then, of course, I became very concerned and very busy about, is it true, the one sacred assumption that scientists, materialist scientists especially, make, is that we are born with the physiology and that's it. Now, they made such a hypothesis also about the brain. In fact, even more stringent hypothesis. The hypothesis was that brain cells are forever. They are not like ordinary cells, and we cannot change the uh, brain function at all, how we think. And all that, of course, changed. Yes, indeed, we can make new connections, not the even new neurons. There is something of neural generation as well. But connections, everyone makes. Every time we think something new, we make new synaptic connections. This is now well established. This is called brain rewiring. Of course, the idea of Kundalini goes deeper because it's also talking about the basic physiology of the organs. If the physiology changes, you know what that means? Because the physiology, which is now pretty Newtonian for the body, although there is a little bit of quantum, but that is just a little bit of quantum within a very few spectrum of choices. And then all of a sudden we get quantum behavior, fully quantum behavior. Heart becomes coherent and we feel love. This is experimentally verified. Similarly, suppose diabetes is because of the stagnancy and because of the Newtonian nature of the uh, pancreas, and even that is blocked. And who is blocking it? Well, stomach is the key. So if you take the stomach to rest, just as if you give the immune system a rest, is it possible that the quantum functioning is renewed in the pancreas to a greater scope, to all the infinite potentialities, and then diabetes could be healed, right? And look at the possibility of even Alzheimer. Now you have to catch, of course, the Alzheimer disease in its infancy, in the beginning. Otherwise, it's too complicated. And huge possibilities, right? If we can change the physiology to higher physiology, more quantum physiology for the ordinary organs, then the improvement of the organ function would be just stupendous. And maybe this is what is reported in the Kundalini literature. They talk about the functioning of people in which Kundalini has awakened in terms of superlative terms, their abilities of control of emotions, their ability of having emotional equanimity, they're just fabulous. And that capacity we all have because we now, with the idea of quantum creativity, and thanks to our work, Valentina and mine, we wrote a book on quantum spirituality where we laid out how vital creativity works. You can read that book if you want. But this idea of Kundalini rising is what now have a scientific explanation. Remember, some of you may are aware of the legend of Shiva who burned the Cupid, god of love, god of sex, really. And what does that mean? That means sexual energy was transformed into opening the brow chakra. This is what it means. That means your intuition opens up. Now it's amazing that in the West, Saint Bonaventura talked about the awakening of the brow chakra. Eye of contemplation, he calls it. In India, it's called the third eye. Shiva has three eyes. This is what. Durga has three eyes. These are all archetypes of great importance in the spiritual tradition. So we have a completely new world based on people having these new wonderful experiences. That's what in store for us. That's what we are doing. That's what we teach at our quantum integrative university of transformative education. QAV, Quantum Activism Visualization. Look us up.
Great. Thank you so much. And this Quantum Activism Vishwalayam and the other courses, other things that we do, if you are interested in that, please visit our website www.amitgoswami.org or email us at info@amitgoswami.org. They are here on your screen. You can refer to them. We will be delighted to hear from you. Thank you very much and have a great weekend. Thank you, doctors.